Alright.
Justice for the free, I just don't think you understand. We're gonna make some noise, they took away our boys, now we're gonna shame the police. Josh, George, Harry, justice for the free, I just don't think you understand. We're gonna make some noise, they took away our boys, now we're gonna shame the police.
Yeah, hi everyone. Thank you for joining us tonight, joining me. Last night, as you know, I tried to get on and I arranged this for 10:15 last night. At 10:14, my whole computer froze. I don't know how it's going to go tonight. Hopefully it goes well. Thank you to everyone for joining me. It means a lot. And yes, spunks fish. Awake to your indoctrination, you are set free. Absolutely. And there's something we're going to discuss tonight, and I'm going to explain my journey into that and why I know it to be true. And I think it's important to share it with you all. Some of you will know already, some of you will understand it. What I need you to do tonight is have some common sense and some critical thinking. And then after my video, whenever you're ready, please do your own research because it is imperative that you do that. So if you can bear with me, I'm just going to share this link onto Facebook. Now they will shadow ban it, but maybe some will see it. So if you just give me a minute. Sorry if you can hear my birds in the background. They should be sleeping, but they seem to be making more noise right now. I'm just going to share. If anyone else can share, I don't normally ask if you can, but if you can and you don't mind sharing, then please do. To those with observant eyes, the world today presents an horrific, evil, governing, de facto, dead system that could not give a damn about you, me, or anybody else or our loved ones. And many on the streets are aiding this, causing chaos, confusion, amongst that, murders and abuse along the way. The secular world is torn apart today by division, diversion, distraction. So the people of each nation cannot stand together. We're suffering hate-filled communities, people hating on each other, and a lot of people running around like headless chickens, hanging on to every word the media and the government say to them. Thousands being subservient to the state. People think they care. Thank you for sharing, Aries. Thank you, everyone else. They are cute, but when you're trying to do something spunks fish and they're making loads of noise all of a sudden, yeah, so a lot of people think they care, yet they do everything by enforcement. How is that caring? Absolutely, spunkfish, yet again. Correct. And could continually lying to you. That's what MPs are there for. That's what the prime ministers are there for, to lie to you. So many men have lost their way. who seem to be bewildered by the scenes that are right in front of their eyes. They've forgotten their purpose, values, and morals. And not just men, women have too. When I say men, I'm also including women in that. Whilst in that moment, the foundations of this country and the people are crumbling. People like me, Melanie Leahy, and thousands of others are in pain everywhere. Many of you have been misled along the way. However, that is all part and parcel because I've been misled. But it's all in part and parcel of gaining knowledge along the way and wisening up to it all. Spiritual values have been discredited, materialism has been enthroned. And that is what has created a lot of selfish people in our communities, where they've become unempathetic because it's been enthroned and spiritual values have been discredited. The secular legal realm that man created is all about contract and agreements. We are now going to discuss the deception in lies in how they obtain an agreement without you even realizing. And this was one of the big things on my journey to what was going on in the country that I thought I lived in, and what my family, my beautiful bone and flesh, who was murdered, has suffered. And it all goes back to when I signed the impact statements in my house. I had to write an impact statement that I was going to be allowed at the time to read in court. And you have to email that impact statement to the police so they can change words, take out words, or say certain words are not appropriate, or certain words you're not allowed to say. Where's the freedom of speech in that? And then once they've decided, yes, you can read what you've written, they then put it onto a witness statement paper. So on the 8th of March 2018, at the time, mine was okayed, and a copper then comes round to your house for you to sign that impact statement that is put on police witness statement paper. When that copper was here, that copper, hi Harry, that copper informed me that what happened to my bone and flesh and blood was not a crime against him, that it was a crime against the state. Now, he wasn't claiming that this was a crime against the state and a crime against Josh, George, and Harry. He was claiming it was a crime against the state alone. Now, it's very important that you understand what I'm going to say to you. And as I said, please do your own due diligence on what I'm going to tell you. So I told the copper off as he was in my house where my beautiful boy lived. And he's standing there and telling me that this is a crime against the state and not a crime against my bone, flesh, and blood. He wasn't actually mixing truth with lies there, silly sausage, which I'm actually going to explain to you. What he was saying was how they see it in their realm, which I'm going to explain. When we got to court at the Old Bailey, we spoke to the prosecutor who was meant to be representing our loved ones, Josh, Harry, and George, and he clearly told us that he was not representing them, he was representing the state. When we got to the appeal court and the prosecutor there, we asked him the same thing. And he said exactly the same, that they was representing the state and not representing Josh, Harry, and George. And I'm going to explain why. this assumption, because that's all it is, and an assumption occurs on what they've done and how they've done it. Now, the first thing I'm gonna start with, I'm gonna read you, and please understand that I am aware that you all know what copyright means, but I want to read it just to reiterate it, just to reiterate. Now, remember the words, he who creates owns. So first of all, I'm going to read this. Copyright is a type of intellectual property that gives its owner the exclusive right to make copies of a creative work, usually for a limited time. The creative work may be in a literary sense, artistic sense, or educational or musical form. Copyright is intended to protect the original expression of an idea in the form of a creative work, but not the idea itself. A copyright is subject to limitations based on public interest considerations, such as the fair use doctrine. Right, so I've read that, and then I'm going to go to legislation.gov.uk. The Copyright Designs and Patents Act 1988. I'm going to go to subsection 2. Copyright in such a work is referred to in this part as Crown copyright, notwithstanding that it may be or have been assigned to another person. Remember the word person. Now, getting permission. When you want to use a work that is in copyright, and copyright lasts a long time, you need to get permission from all copyright owners. Some works have several rights attached to them, and each right may have more than one owner. So you may need to get permission from them all. Now, can anyone at the moment, before I proceed, start understanding what it is that I'm trying to explain to you? When we live in a realm that is full of deception and lies, a legal realm, and legal blankets the law, it hides what the law is. Can any of you so far understand the route that I'm going down, and why that copper said that to me, and why the state assume that they have the authority over our own born flesh and blood? Spunkfish? Anyone? I will continue. I had some solicitors along the way, and one of the solicitors, I requested my documentation off him. So I went and picked up copies of letters and documents that he'd received. When I got home, I went through these documents, and there was a document in there. Absolutely, Aunt Sally, absolutely. And I'm going to explain more on that, because there's a lot of people out there that claim that you can get remedy, but they're taking you down the legal route, which there will never be remedy for. And there's a lot of people out here that want to charge you money to give you the truth. The truth is free and no one owns it. And if people want to give you the truth to take you out of this evil man-made system and to protect yourself and your own born flesh and blood, it should be given for free. Now, one of the documents, and I'll explain why, UFO. One of the documents that was amongst the paperwork that I picked up was a document that was sent from the High Court of Justice. Now, the solicitor had not sent this to me, and had I not asked for a copy of the documents he had, I would not have seen this. Now, this document that I have is the District Probate Registry at Leeds. Now, what it is a form giving back the authority of my born and flesh and blood back to me on the day he was murdered. So when my flesh and blood, Josh, was living and breathing, the state, under an assumption, believed they owned him. When George and Harry died, they gave back the authority to the mother or the father. This document claims it's got my son's name on it, that he died on the 26th of January 2018, domiciled in England and Wales, interstate. And be it further known that administration of all the estate, which by law devolves to and vests in the personal representative of the said deceased, was granted by the High Court of Justice on this date to Tracy. I'm not Tracy Blackwell because that is person, which we will get into. They gave back the authority to me when the day my son died. So that's the document that I hold and can prove. Thank you for joining, everyone. Before I continue, I just want to say hi to everyone. Diane, John, just Renee's trial at his banner will be taking it to. Thank you very much, John, and thank you for joining. UFO, Drippy Nose, Spunkfish, I know I've said hello. JT, everyone, Steve, thank you again. It's very important because mothers and fathers out there, unbeknown to them, including myself, including my own mothers and fathers and generations of us, without knowing, because full disclosure is not given. So everything is done under an assumption that the law, the courts, the police, everything, all done under an assumption that they have authority over you, which they do not have. And it's the same thing with the birth certificate. And that is why I read to you the copyright laws, because if you get out your birth certificate, for anyone who can't comprehend this, because I do understand it's hard to comprehend, if you get out your birth certificate and you look at the bottom, it tells you it is copyrighted by the Crown. It also tells you that it is not evidence of identity. Same here, Spunkfish. You know, we lead busy lives because they make us lead busy lives. They make both parents work or single parents work. So you don't have the chance to research and see what is going on in your surroundings. You don't see what is going on. Well, I don't know about that, Sarah Jane. Are you in England? Are you in England? Because you know, normally you can leave the hospital and then you go and register. But everything is done by enforcement because they make the mothers and fathers believe that they're going to get in trouble, that it's a criminal offence if they don't register their born flesh and blood babies. That's how they do it. It's deception and it is lies. Once you do that, they have the copyright to the certificate. It clearly shows you that on there. And then they have an assumed authority over you for the rest of your life. And that's exactly the reason why that copper told me that this was a crime, not a crime against Josh, George, and Harry. It was a crime against the state. And absolutely, Harry, it is fraud and treason. Now, there's people out there that will tell you, well, it only matters if it's in uppercase. No, they own the name. Now, we've had all the clues throughout our whole life, and we just didn't realise it. If you go back to the beginning, If you go back to the beginning, there was no surnames. Look at the surnames. Look at William's son, John's son, Rock, Smith, Blacksmith. There was no surnames. We have a private name that is given to us by our mothers and fathers. Mine is Tracy. I am the daughter of Leonard. That's what we used to be described as. Just like you've got Cain and Abel, Joseph and Mary, Jesus. No surnames, no surnames, none at all. And it was all there for us to see. Only, as Spunkfish correctly said, we ignored it. So they created a joinder because, as I told you before, the legal realm is all about contracts and agreements, and they have to create joinder with the name. So as soon as you admit to being that name, they have authority over you. Now, on the birth certificate, when you can get it out, absolutely. Miller, absolutely. Baker, all of it, Harry. Now, when you can get your birth certificate out, it will tell you that it's in the custody of the General Registrar. Now, we all know what custody means, don't we? You know, we know what it means as in the, what custody means as in the, if you get put in prison. But I'm going to read you in Black's Law Dictionary. Now, Black's Law Dictionary is not a law dictionary, it's a legal dictionary. It's legal terminology, and that's what we've been taught as our English, legal terminology. So what we think the word person is not what we believe it is. It's a persona, just like acting. Just like acting. So I'm going to read to you from Black's Law Dictionary. This is the book that the judges use. It's in their courts. Anyone who says to you that they do not use Black's Law Dictionary is deceiving you. I've been in court and I've seen the book on their desk. So custody, the care and keeping of anything. Remember, anything. As when an article is said to be in custody of the court, also the detainer of a man's person, remember person again, by virtue of lawful process or authority, actual imprisonment, as we know, in a sentence that the defendant be in custody until this term imports actual imprisonment. Then you've got case law in there because they've subverted the common law into case law, so they can just keep quoting that. So you've got lots of things here. The word is defined as the care and possession of a thing, and means the keeping, guarding, care. Sorry, it's because it's got dark here. I'm struggling to read it. Bear with me. With inspection, preservation, or security of a thing, and carries with it the idea of the thing being within the immediate personal care, control. Means it's all from fathers. Hi everyone. For some reason I got thrown out, but I've managed to get back in, so that's the main thing for now. So let's go to thing. Uh, Sorry, I did bookmark all these, but I think after getting chucked off last night, it sort of messed everything out. Right. Things. It's got an S. The objects of dominion or property are as distinguished from persons. And then in the same thing, it has the word estate in general is applicable to anything of which rises or fortune may consist. The word is likewise relative to the word thing. Now you can see how they do a lot of double speak. You were reading something out and then you broke up before. Oh, I don't know which one it was. No, Shirley, I've certainly not have had it, and I have no shame in saying that I have not had the jab. No. Why would you trust them? Because I certainly don't. But, you know, if you have, Shirley, that's your choice. My choice is not to. So you can understand the word thing. So what we're going to go to next is persons. Because persons is a corporate entity. Acts and statutes are just like company policy. That's what acts and statutes are. So a person is a persona. It's not what you are. What you actually are, is a man or a woman. Nothing more, nothing less, nothing else added to that. Not a human being. That is created. That is another legal word. Another legal word is human being. Human being who has human rights, the rights that they can decide to give or take away from you. Absolutely, we won't submit to tyranny at all. We're not mankind either, Sally. We are man or woman. Because think of the word mankind. A kind of man, it's double speak. Man, woman, nothing more, nothing less, and nothing added to it. Right, you do not have to comply, Shirley. We live in a world of deception and lies, and with contracts and agreements, it's all about consent. Know that you always have that choice, and if your choice is to say no, then you stick to saying no, no matter what is said to you. You must stand your ground. So going back to what we was talking about with the birth certificate, anytime you register for something in this realm, you are giving a right away. When you register your car, sorry, excuse me a moment. When you register your car, you are giving them the right that you've now got to tax it, that they can come and clamp it, they can come and take your car away, they can give you tickets. Do not be deceived by lies is the cure. Exactly that. Again, Spunkfish. You're worried about the school kids. Well, the mothers and fathers can put letters in. As I've said before, sorry, bear with me. Chinese getting. As I've said before, going on the school thing with the children, as I said before, and we did discuss this, to say to mothers and fathers that it's their loved one's choice from the age of 12 to decide, make that decision on whether they want a vaccine or not, is so wrong, and it's morally wrong on every level, because not only will they be allowing that, what comes next, you've got to look at the agenda behind that. Are they going to say 12 years is going to be the age of consent for sex because mothers and fathers gave them a choice and believe they're adult enough to make that decision? It's the agenda that is behind it. Yeah, Aunt Sally, it is, because there's so many men and women online that are misleading so many of us. For me, I did hours and hours of my own research, hours of watching YouTube videos, because I stayed on the legal route to find out why that was said to me. I found that out from there. Obviously, I've been having to learn the legal realm and what is lawful against the legal realm and so on and so on, because obviously I'm fighting for justice for Josh, Harry and George. On top of that, aiming for a private prosecution and a retrial on those in that car that night, because those in that car that night did not act alone. It wasn't just them in that car. Our story has been changed along the way, but not by me, by trolls, agitators, agiprops, and the media. Of course, the media. But not by me at all. So, yeah, there is a trust relationship working on Zincon once it gets to the call, with the trustees, the what can I say it? Me and my words, sorry. Executor and the settler and so on and so on, and you've got to know who to stand. But what you'll have in this realm is a lot of people that will say to you there's remedy by you saying that you will conditionally accept something, because when you know you're in a realm that is full of contracts and agreements, and a third party interloper will be writing to you, and for you to say in honour, you write back with a conditional acceptance, and you're going to ask them to see the contract and so on and so on. And of course, they're not going to have a contract between you and a third party interloper. That's fine if you want to play in that realm and you want to be the person and you want the state to have the authority over you, but that isn't remedy. You're not being taught remedy. And that's the issue I find across the whole of YouTube and the whole of Facebook. You're not being given remedy. The remedy is to come out of the public, where the authority lies, the assumed authority lies with the state, because we registered birth certificates that they own the copyright to. You all know what copyright means. It's there for you to see. It's going to be hard to take in for some of you, but that's why they believe they own you, because we got registered and joined. They created joinder from our private given name to a state surname, and they own that. And that's why when you come across the police, the first thing they want is your details, because as soon as you give the person details that you assume you are, again done on an assumption, you just assume you're that person, they have you in contract. And that's the thing that everyone needs to get their head around, because that's the start of it. That's why the day My son was murdered. It wasn't issued that day, but that's the date on it when they gave the authority back to me. The day on the date of my son being murdered. You are free, Shirley. You are free. When they done so-called lockdown, which is actually lockdown, it's the same name they give to people in prison, isn't it? Locking everyone down. We still travelled. I've never been locked down. I've still travelled where I wanted to go. You have to be confident in knowing who you are and what you are and the standing that you do have and the power that you do hold and who you are. They created the birth certificate. He who creates own. There is no higher standing other than God. They switched their jurisdiction, and if you split up the word jurisdiction, it means you've got to know how to speak to have the correct jurisdiction. Absolutely, Harry, and that's a really, really good way to put it. It's your fiction that isn't free. Perfectly said. Perfectly said. Now remember that there's a lot of people out here that are going to be taking you down different paths with regarding to the birth certificate. Well, if you need two jabs to go on a cruise, I suggest you don't go on a cruise. And if everyone did that, the cruise liners would go down the pan. They're corporations, and they'd soon start changing their stance, wouldn't they? Shirley. So just remember that there's people out here that will just say to you, well, you can be in this realm and the remedy is here and the remedy is in this, the remedy is in equity. It's all legal and it's all to do with legal fiction. To me, staying in honour is not opening a letter that doesn't belong to you. You're not an occupier. We've been invaded by the foreign British Empire, who are foreign onto our lands, who are treating us as if we're occupying their lands and treating us like the terrorists. On top of that, that's how I'm treated. That's how I'm treated. That's why I'm so shadow banned. I can't prove why I couldn't get on last night. Like I said, at 10:14, everything was ready to go, and everything froze. And I restarted my machine many times, and I just couldn't do it. Once I could get on and change to the next day and the time for this feed tonight, I could get onto everything. However, I am on here tonight. Thank you, JT. It's going to be hard for some people to understand with regard to the birth certificate, but I know that is what they did. That is what they own that. They have the ownership rights on that. They have the copyright on that. I know we didn't have surnames. People just have to think because all the clues are there. All the clues are there for us to see. We just didn't know. And I don't want anyone to find out about things like this in the way I have found out. Because it's a very, very painful journey. Very. So I'm just going to, Shirley, don't research everyone that you listen to, because there's many out there, like I said earlier, we've all been misled, Don't sign anything. I did back in 2018. I signed a document that I shouldn't sign, which was giving my oath of allegiance to man. but I didn't know because I was led to believe that it was back in, my son was murdered in January. This was back in April 2018. And of course, because I was speaking out, I got many people, mostly bad. I met some good people along the way that have become some dear friends of mine now. But along the way, I met very bad people that was trying to divert me here, there, and everywhere, and trying to speak for me. But once they saw that I had my own voice and could speak for myself and speak out, then I just got continually attacked from that moment because they couldn't control me or our boy's course. Yes, if you want to, Jesus Jones is there. You know, it's all a good point, Jesus Jones, to add that the surname is in uppercase and it means American style language, and so on and so on. However, what I've learned, Jesus Jones, it's irrelevant to the fact that they own the surname, and that's why they have assumed authority over us. It's irrelevant because the point is they have assumed authority over us. We assume that we are that person that they created. And that's why Josh, George, and Harry had no representation in that court. That's why they could lie, the media could lie. And the other thing they will do, when they know that people are becoming aware of this, when they know that, they will then put a fake news story in the paper. For example, I saw one where they declared that a mother and father had a baby and they didn't register that baby. And they then made other stories up with regarding that and said that they had to end up taking that baby away. And that is to create fear into the men and women that know the truth, that is very narrow, very narrow. To fear mothers and fathers and to make you register the baby through deception. Through deception. So yeah, like the TV detector vans, exactly, because none of them could pick up if you was watching the BBC. I've not watched telly since this, and you're better off. That is a diversion. That is a distraction. To be fair, I didn't watch loads of it before anyway. As I said, I was very much an audiophile. But it's very much a distraction where you should be spending your time researching what I've spoken about tonight, which I've just given you a little bit of without going too deep, just to give you something to research yourself. And really, it's so imperative that you understand what the birth certificate is, because that is your contract to them in their eyes under an assumption. Remember, you hold the authority above them because man created the state, created the governments. And what did the governments do? They put everything in trusts. They send people off to war. Many are murdered. And then who keeps the trusts? Who keeps the houses and the monies when there's no wills? The government. It all goes to them. And until people can understand and contemplate, and like I say, I can't give too much in this video. I can't give too much of what I've come across along the way because I need you to do that. I need you to see for yourself because it's the only way. Then no one who does another video will be able to confuse you on what you're thinking, because that is generally what happens. That's what I've had to do along this painful journey that I should never have had to done. I should never have had to do it. So I'm just going to look through the comments to see if there's anything answered. What's that? And that's what March. That is why they did not want numbers at the hospital. No staff. I went into. I'll just tell you this, Shirley. I've said it before. I went into a hospital in the very beginning of one of the biggest lies ever, including our boy's story and many others. Yeah, I went into a hospital that they said was like a war zone, and it was completely empty. And all the doctors and nurses were walking around smiling and laughing. I even went down to the basements and on every floor, outside every ward, there was nothing and no one there. That's all I can say to you. But this is about you doing your own due diligence and your own learning your own knowledge and becoming wise to what is going on, so you know how to stand. You hold the authority over these government officials, over the public servants. It's not the other way around. The police have no authority over you unless you contract with them. And anyone, when you say that's not your name and that's not who you are, if they then are trying to convert you to be that name, it's criminal. It's criminal for them to do that. And always remember, we live in, this is a Roman system, a civil Roman system that they have us in. Now, if anyone makes a claim against you, it's not on you to prove your innocence. It's on them to prove that you did whatever they're claiming for you to do. Just the same if they try and say that that is who you are. The claim is on them to provide that evidence that that is who you are. And they will not be able to do that. And remember, when you're in a police station, if you ever end up in one, your DNA is your own private property. They have no right to enforce you or lie to you to get your DNA. That's if you're not a criminal, that is, and you haven't physically hurt someone. Maybe I shouldn't have said that bit. Anyway, everyone, if there's anything I can answer, please ask me. Please do. This is why the government have the assumption that you're their children. You're their cattle. You're their collateral. And you're their cash cows. And our full flesh and blood babies mean nothing to them. Nothing. Right. How do you undo the birth certificate? There are ways to do it, Aunt Sally, but I need... Everything's done under assumption and a presumption. So they're always going to assume you are who you are unless you let them know you're not. So you notify them you're not. And then after that, you preempt everything. Preempt everything. You have to. Thank you, Aurora. Thank you. It's a bit, I had more things set up last night and more tags in my so-called Black's Law Dictionary, which is just a legal dictionary. It's not natural law. We have unalienable rights, and we stand on natural law, no man-made law. Natural law, no harm, no loss, no harm, no injury. That's it. As simple as that. I'll try and give you more along the way in my fight. I spend so much time doing what I'm doing in the background for the boys, and I have a lot to do there. Because, as I said before, my aim is to get to court, put those on the car, charges, 3 times murder, 2 attempted murders. And with regards to the police, I want to go for them singly of those coppers that were involved in aiding in the complicity in hiding the murders of our boys. So I have a lot to do, and I've got one chance to do it. So I have to make sure it's watertight and correct before I do. So everyone, that's enough from me now. It's nearly been an hour. I hope in some way I've given you something that you can think about, use your common sense. You know, copyright laws, it states on there not to, but it's not a form of evidence. It's all there, double speak, tells you it's in custody of the registrar. And I'm sure if you ring up where you was born, the registrar's office, and you ask them if they, hi Peter, ask them if they register people or if they register events. Thank you, Spunkfish, and thank you for always joining us, because I know from all your comments now and in the past that you're very aware of what's gone on and how they did it. And there's so many diversions and distractions and divides across the world, well, the secular world, all intentional. So people don't research and look outside the box and think outside the box and work out how they did it. Absolutely, Diane, the whole system is corrupt, and it will forever will be. Forever will be. We must grow this knowledge to others. Absolutely, Harry. Absolutely. But it's so important for people to look themselves, so they just don't come and listen to, say, me, then go off and listen to someone else and then become confused, because I see so many channels that are fooling people and asking for a lot of money for ebooks, for bags, for what they call training. No, it's all the legal realm, people. It's all the legal realm. I can tell you right now, out of all of YouTube, at what I've looked at, and don't get me wrong, I haven't looked at everyone, of course, just everyone I've come past in the last 3.5 years. There's only one man right now that has 99% of my trust in what he says. And you've always have to leave that 1%. You don't need to live life claims, and don't listen to all that ecolastical, it's man-made, it's man-made. Just remember as well, some of the things you see where you've seen a court case, where people have gone in and used the common law and stuff like that, please understand that they will allow some of these to win, to give you the illusion that that is the correct path. It is not. It is not. Just like the IOPC, which is full of ex-police that pretend to be there as your appeal course for the police not doing their job, it's fake. They will allow a couple of small ones to win to make it look like they're doing their job. Understand how they work. Understand everything's subverted, diverted, back to front, and full of lies. Please. Anyway, everyone, take care. I appreciate your time tonight, spending it with me, and thank you. And I apologised again. Absolutely, Aurora, we do. For anyone who was waiting last night and I couldn't get on, thank you very much. And I'll be wary of people mixing jurisdictions. That's very good, Leo. I will just add to that before I leave, because what a lot of them do online to you is they mix lawful with legal, and that is muddying the waters. It's very dangerous, and you're not going to win. You're not going to win. And there is so many out there. Don't listen to people who call you human, you're man or woman, nothing more, nothing less, nothing added to it. Anyone saying outside that box, like you're a citizen is a person. Remember the word person again. A citizen is a person who belongs to the state. We was corrupted in our English, and we was taught a lot of legalese. So we use person thinking that's what we are. We are not. A person is a corporate entity. On archive.org, for anyone who's interested, you should be able to find Black's Law Dictionary on there if you type it in. Absolutely. Citizenship, Harry. Well done. Anyway, Thank you for listening and joining me and supporting me like you always do. Liberty is not freedom. You're right there, Jesus Jones. You know, like I said, I've made errors along the way and been misled, but not no more. That's how you become wise. Use the knowledge wisely and listen to the correct people. If they're saying words that you think, no, this isn't right, don't watch them no more because there's many here leading you down the wrong path. Take care, everyone, and remember, truth is to be given for free. Anyone charging it, just don't listen to them.